Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. The silver market is changing. Let's explore. In this age of instant information and online trends, it really should not surprise any of us that there's a lot of changes going on in the markets in general, but especially we've noticed it with silver. Silver, which is a metal that has defied and surpassed cultures, generations, and empires and the like. It continues to fascinate us to this very day, but it's rapidly shifting as far as market trends, as far as how it's viewed, how it's perceived by the public at large, and even within the silver community at large, and specifically among forums and different social media outlets and platforms. I think, though, in a sense, just like silver itself is how it's seen, it's really about the people that perceive it. A lot of it has to do with this community. But before we get into how it's viewed, let's take a look at how it's evolved in terms of its uses. Now, we know that silver has been used as money for thousands of years. Really, it is only since 1964 and in the mid-60s, essentially mid to late 60s, where silver was pretty much completely removed from circulation. In fact, really, you can pretty much date it as to about the end of the 60s, 1969 here in the United States, when the 40% silver half dollar stopped circulating. But other nations around the world pretty much stopped most of their circulating silver coins at various different purities by about the same time. Silver is a metal that has still continued to provide quite a bit of benefit and value even long before it was removed from circulation as currency. Now, I do consider silver as a monetary metal, but we have seen it evolve over the years in technology and in science and even in healthcare as a metal that has become valuable for other reasons. Uses in photography, especially, are quite pronounced during that time through the end of the Silver Age as used as money or currency. But it also has evolved in terms of its use in the medical field. We know from writings, those who have talked about it, even dating back to the 1700s, when maybe a silver coin or silverware was used to fight infection. And of course, knowing that it can fight infection, bacteria and the like, it also provided a store of value outside of the monetary system. You know, silver cups, silverware, that was wealth. That was what was utilized, not only in terms of service, in terms of utensils, it had a utilitarian purpose, but it also was seen as a status symbol, as a form of wealth. So silver served that dual role as a wealth preservation tool and as as money at the same time. Pretty fascinating. And so you think about it, in that sense, it's been relatively constant throughout time, but we know that it has evolved. It has evolved quite dramatically in terms of its uses. It has expanded its uses. And in fact, we know that nowadays photography has pretty much gone by the wayside, although there is a resurgence in actual print photographs now, and just like there was for vinyl records, the quest for the nostalgic, for sure, is something to be behold and to experience and to enjoy, but also the ever-expanding uses of silver in terms of science and technology and in industry. We know that well over half of all silver produced is for those uses. Silver really does have a dual role. and is evolving even more and more diverse in its uses. In fact, we know that now in 2021 there is a push for an increase in the use of products that can help with clean energy production. And more nations have made it clear that they want to go into a clean energy investment, and some of them are doing it by mandate, others with natural market forces, and the private sector are moving in that direction. Been something that's been happening for quite some time, especially in terms of photovoltaics. You've heard me talk about that many times, but also electric vehicles. We're seeing that increase for sure. And we know that there is now some bills out for what we call human infrastructure spending, but also actual infrastructure spending will increase probably for some of these initiatives. And silver will be a big part of that. It already has been a big part of that. So increased demand for EVs, battery-powered devices, and photovoltaics, and electronics in general, mean that silver's demand will continue to increase, and it'll be seen as a commodity and treated probably more as such in that area than not. And of course, people speculate as to, what that means for the prices of silver, and there are differing opinions as to how that will play a role in terms of its price, because it's been somewhat lackluster lately, and that is another way that silver market is changing, especially compared to the gold market. Because as of the recording of this video, the gold to silver ratio is expanding. It is expanding now, and most people think that it should be shrinking. And there are various reasons and strategies or philosophies or theories behind it as to why that's happening. We don't necessarily want to go into too much detail as to what some of those theories are, because that is another role about market changes for silver. The silver market is not just made up of the metal and its uses, but its perception in the community of traders, both in terms of the electronic stock market traders, ETFs, and the like that buy it to kind of hedge against other stocks in paper form, but also for those of us who stack the physical version of the metal. And it's the physical stacking of silver that I think has evolved, and it's become, I think, quite a good thing to see more and more people actually stacking the physical metal, literally taking the physical metal out of the market, and creating our own market of wealth preservation devices and tools to empower us as individuals to hold the metal, whereas there is a physical need for it in the industrial sector. I believe the more that's taken out will drive the demand up and increase the price in due course. But it may take quite some time for that to occur. But by and large, we have seen what's known as the silver squeeze at the beginning of this year, and we saw a great demand starting in the previous year because of the pandemic, after the big crash that we saw in March of 2020. Silver has just survived yet another somewhat of a flash crash, only to rebound by more than double that price, and I believe we could see the same thing happen again. Nonetheless, the silver market's change is something that we're going to have to adapt to, no matter how it's perceived. Because of these wild movements in price, it is very easy for people to get jaded and to feel, in a sense, cheated by the metal. But the metal itself does not cheat. It does not have an agenda. It even doesn't have a philosophy. Its mere existence in the history of how it has served mankind for all these years sells itself. And what has it done over these years? Well, it's provided a tool to preserve your wealth against uncertain times economically. Economic instability is something that has troubled mankind, and is something we worry about for most of our lives in some manner or form, whether it's on a personal, on a regional, on a national, or global level. economic instability is always something that is on our mind in one form or another. This is why holding the metal, I believe, is something that can provide a safety net in times of economic hardship. That safety net and the perception of that safety net is another facet of how the silver market is changing, because you can pick any 2 dates in history of any calendar of any length of time in between those 2 dates, and you can make silver be a horrible investment, a horrible strategy, and or the best strategy and the best performing asset out there. And I would encourage you not to look at silver in terms of 2 points of time. You must take a look at it through the course of history, through the course of a long stretches span of time, in order to understand that silver is not a metal that is going to get you rich. It is not going to make you money. It is not going to pay you dividends. Yea, though, it shall preserve your wealth over the long course of time, especially when coupled with other wealth preservation assets, mainly gold, I feel, but even other precious metals like platinum or palladium, and a diversification of other asset classes out there that are known to hold their value over the course of time, such as land, a real estate market, and that type of thing. But each has their own risks and rewards, but I believe silver's risk-reward ratio is a bit more stable in some of those aspects if done the right way. You may remember I did a video not too long ago about what I refer to as smart dollar cost averaging. In other words, what makes that unique is being able to buy, not just utilizing dollar cost averaging, which essentially is setting aside a certain amount of money per month and buying consistently on a regular basis, but it's about kind of being in tune with the markets, maybe buying a little bit less during a big spike in price for silver, and buying a little bit more when there's a big drop in silver or a flash crash, understanding that the premiums are going to make a difference on how you buy as well. And that's another part of the market that is changing, the premiums. There's been times throughout the silver markets, the physical bullion markets, where the premiums were extremely high and very low prices compared to today for spot price for silver, as compared to times where the silver price has been relatively low and stagnant and the premiums have been low, whereas the times now when the silver price is medium to high and premiums are just out of this world for certain bullion products. So there's an ever-evolving perception of what silver means to certain people. The silver market is changing, and it will continue to evolve. However, the fundamentals of what the metal is about and the metal itself, it does not change. Although the physical properties of the metal, they do not change, though the reactions to the environment do. Hence why we see sometimes silver that has a tendency to milk spot and or tarnish. But toning is something that most people, in some cases for silver, find attractive. There's not many people that find milk spotting attractive or smudges on certain bullion products, but nonetheless, it is what it is. Silver will always be what it will be, and it will continue to shine on in one form or another. So I hope you found this video insightful. Silver, it never changes, even if the silver market does change. I would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch this video, and to encourage you to please rate this video, share it among various different social media platforms, hit the little notification bell so that you can be apprised of the latest video that makes its way across your device, share it, and comment. Let me know what your thoughts are about the silver market, and if you haven't done so already, I would encourage you to subscribe to the channel. A multitude of gratitude to you all.